Hi guys, welcome or welcome back. Today's video is just going to talk a little bit about exposure plans and how they can help you overcome anxiety. So let's just get on into it. What is an exposure plan? Well, it's something designed to help you overcome triggering situations. Basically, you make a list of everywhere that you feel anxious, especially the ones that you experience on a day-to-day basis, and you rate them ideally 1 to 100. Right, so you give them a figure, you put them in order, and that then becomes your plan. So the way you enforce that plan is by starting at the lowest number and repeating that situation until you don't really feel anxious anymore. It sounds tedious, and to be honest, it is. There is no time limit. You can't say, oh, you'll be better in 2 months, you'll be better in 6 months. There's no way of knowing. But basically, you keep practicing that situation over and over and over again until you're bored. It sounds silly, but it's basically a way for your brain to learn that that situation is not a threat. When we feel anxious in a place, we normally try and leave, or we try to just avoid it entirely so that we don't have to experience those intense levels of anxiety. But an exposure plan basically puts you in that situation again and again and again and again. That way, you get used to the feeling, you overcome it because you're starting from the lowest level. If you jump straight to the highest one, you won't be able to really overcome it. The best way it was explained to me was it's like stepping stones, right? You have a river that you need to cross and you have these stepping stones. You take one at a time, you'll succeed, you'll cross the river. However, if you try and skip 3 stepping stones, you'll probably fall in the river, right? So take your time with it. Make sure you feel totally comfortable with the situation before moving on to the next one. Only you will know when you're ready to do that. One of the biggest differences when it comes to an exposure plan, though, is you have to reward yourself every single time you do challenge yourself with a situation. That reward acts as a motivator almost, because you are turning that challenging situation into something positive. That way, not only does your brain learn that nothing bad happened in that situation, it in fact thinks, wow, this is good. Actually, doing that led to something good. And then you want to do it more and more and more. It's a great way to push yourself forward, to motivate you to keep overcoming the other stressors, because obviously if you start with really, really low, you want to start with something that's really, that its highest number is 20, right? You don't want to start with something that's 50. Because if you do that, again, it's a really difficult starting point and it's hard to overcome. For me, I had to kind of just add in one, which was going in lifts. I really dislike going in lifts. I was anxious in lifts, but because it was over within a few seconds, it was never something that I really worried about, but I did always prefer taking the stairs. So that one for me was like 25, I think. That's where it was on the list, but that's where I started, and I would just keep going in lifts wherever I had the opportunity, which meant usually I was in a shopping centre. My reward, therefore, would usually be buying something. But a reward can be anything. It doesn't have to be, something of monetary value. It can just be something that you enjoy doing. How do you go about enforcing your exposure plan? The best way to do it is to cut little strips of paper, and on every single one, you will write down a trigger and its number. Color coding is great. Again, it makes it more creative. So you have like the red ones that are the really high numbers, so 75 or above. You have the yellow ones or orange ones, which would be, let's say, 74 down to, 25. And then you have the green ones, which would be below 25. So you want as many as possible to give you the best chance possible of reaching that highest goal. The next part would then be planning how you're going to overcome those situations. It's fantastic if you can go with somebody. For example, I'd go with a parent or a friend. That way you know that you have support, you don't have to challenge it by yourself. Keep in mind that it is super important to reward yourself at the end. That is like the major thing when it comes to exposure plans and why it works. Don't set yourself a time limit, it's not worth it. Just go at your own pace, repeat it as many times as you need to, and try and turn each situation into a positive. Writing down about it afterwards might help, what you struggled with, when you started to feel anxious, what your anxiety levels were on a scale of 1 to 10, because that again can help in the moment. If you start going into a lift, for example, and your anxiety is at like a level 8. And then you might, after, I don't know, going in the lift 5 times, you might still feel anxious, right? But your anxiety level might be at a 5. So you know that you're headed in the right direction. Anyway, I hope this video clarifies exposure plans a little bit and how you can use them to overcome anxiety. Let me know in the comments if exposure plans have worked for you or how you've used them. Drop a thumbs up if you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you next time.